The cold void of space stretched endlessly as the human scout ship Raven drifted toward an abandoned station. The crew inside was silent, their eyes locked onto the structure ahead. A massive, derelict installation orbiting a dead planet. It had no name, no known history, just a single distress signal looping for years. The message was garbled, barely readable. Human subjects, last recorded, failed. All failed. Commander Rourke exhaled slowly. His breath fogged up the inside of his helmet. This mission wasn't supposed to be dangerous. A simple recon job. Retrieve data, confirm no threats, and leave. But his instincts screamed otherwise. Something was wrong with this place. The docking process was eerily smooth. Too smooth. The station's automatic systems still worked, guiding Raven into its main hangar. That was the first red flag. A place this old, this abandoned, should have been falling apart. Instead, the doors slid open as if welcoming them in. Sergeant Bonner, the team's heavy gunner, checked his rifle. "I don't like this, boss. Feels like we just stepped into a damn mausoleum." "Stay sharp," Rourke muttered. He led the team forward. The moment they stepped inside, the hangar doors slammed shut behind them. A loud hiss filled the air as artificial gravity and oxygen levels adjusted. Their radio comms crackled. Static interference. "Command, do you read?" Rourke tried. Silence. Bonner cursed. Of course. Classic horror movie crap. The interior was massive. Cold steel walls stretching down into dark corridors. Emergency lights flickered, casting eerie shadows. The entire station felt watchful. Private Diaz checked his scanner. No life signs, but this place has power. Someone, or something, is keeping it running. They pressed on, boots echoing through the silent halls. Their mission was simple: find the station's data core and extract whatever was left. But with every step, the unease grew. The walls were marked with deep claw-like scratches, as if something had tried to escape. Then they found the first corpse. It wasn't human. It wasn't even recent. A skeletal alien form, slumped against the wall, its ribcage torn open. The body was old, centuries old, yet the blood stains on the floor looked disturbingly fresh. Bonner nudged it with his boot. "Well, that's not creepy at all." "Eyes forward," Rourke ordered. But even he felt it now, the thick, suffocating sense of being washed. They reached the command center, a vast chamber lined with dead screens and flickering consoles. A single holographic display still functioned, showing an endless list of names, human names. Diaz's voice trembled. "Commander, these are test subjects. Hundreds of them." Rourke scrolled down. The names ended abruptly. No further records. No signs of survivors. Then the screen glitched, and a video feed popped up. A security recording. It showed humans in tattered uniforms, running, screaming, gunned down by automated sentries. Their voices were silent, but the terror in their eyes was unmistakable. Another clip flickered. Humans fighting something unseen, dragged into the darkness. The final footage showed a man, shaking, staring into the camera. His voice crackled through the speakers. "If you're seeing this, run. It won't let you leave. It never lets anyone leave." The screen cut to black. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the room. Final human test commencing. The station came alive. Doors slammed shut. Sirens wailed. The floor beneath them shifted, metal plating pulling apart to reveal dark shafts and shifting walls. The station itself was reconfiguring, transforming into something hostile. "Move," Rourke barked. The walls behind them opened, and something emerged. Dark, quadrupedal machines with bladed limbs. No eyes, just cold precision. Bonner didn't hesitate. He raised his rifle and opened fire. The first bot exploded, but the others rushed forward, fast, too fast. Private Mason wasn't quick enough. The nearest machine lunged, its blades piercing straight through his armor. He choked, blood spilling from his mouth. No, Diaz fired wildly, dragging Mason back, but the machine ripped him away, vanishing into the shadows. Rourke grabbed Diaz, pulling him forward. We can't save him. Move. They ran. The station shifted around them, corridors rearranging to funnel them toward something. This isn't an attack, Diaz panted. It's a test. It's studying us. Then let's fail the damn test, Rourke growled. Ahead, a door marked Lab 04 slid open. They had no choice. They ran inside, into the unknown. The door slammed shut behind them, locking them inside Lab 04. The only sounds were their ragged breathing and the distant, mechanical hum of the station shifting around them. The room was large, filled with shattered glass tubes and rusted equipment. Dust floated in the air, disturbed by their rapid entrance. The lab looked abandoned, yet the machines hunting them were very much active. Sergeant Bonner pressed his back against the wall, gripping his rifle tight. Tell me we have a plan, Commander. Rourke scanned the room quickly. Right now, we survive. Diaz knelt beside a terminal, trying to hack in. His hands were shaking, still in shock from losing Mason. This station, it's built to test survival. That means there has to be a pattern, a way out. Before he could say more, a deep metallic thud echoed through the walls. The sound was slow, deliberate. The machines were searching, hunting. Private Lee whispered, "They're playing with us." The first attack came without warning. A section of the wall split apart, and a long-bladed arm shot out, grabbing Diaz by the leg. He screamed as it yanked him off his feet, dragging him toward the opening. Bonner acted fast, slamming the butt of his rifle against the blade. Sparks flew, but the metal grip wouldn't loosen. Rourke fired a burst into the mechanical arm, severing it from the wall. Diaz tumbled free, panting, but the damage was done. His leg was torn, bleeding heavily. Get him up, Rourke ordered. Diaz groaned. We're just rats in a maze. This thing is watching us, testing us. Bonner pulled Diaz onto his shoulder. Then let's break the damn maze. They moved quickly, pushing through the lab into a darkened hallway. Emergency lights flickered, barely keeping the darkness at bay. The station continued shifting, cutting off certain paths while opening others, forcing them deeper inside. It was controlling their route. They weren't escaping. They were being led somewhere. A warning beep flashed on Rourke's visor. Motion detected. Get ready, he whispered. From the ceiling, 3 machines dropped down. These weren't like the first ones. They were sleeker, faster, their limbs ending in serrated blades. They moved with deadly precision, scanning the humans with glowing red optics. Then, as if reaching a decision, they attacked. Bonner opened fire first. The closest machine dodged sideways, almost too fast to follow, and then lunged. Its blade sliced Bonner's arm, sending blood splattering against the wall. He roared in pain but didn't fall, didn't stop. With his good arm, he grabbed a shock grenade, activated it, and slammed it against the machine's chest. A burst of electricity erupted. The machine convulsed violently, sparks flying from its body before it collapsed, twitching on the floor. One down, Bonner growled. The second machine rushed Rourke. He sidestepped at the last second, forcing the bot to slam into the wall. Before it could recover, he jammed his rifle under its chassis and fired an entire clip point blank. The machine shuddered, then collapsed in a heap of broken metal. The third was on Lee before anyone could react. It impaled him through the stomach, lifting him off the ground. His scream was cut short as the machine twisted its blade, then tossed his lifeless body aside like discarded trash. Diaz, bleeding and barely standing, emptied his pistol into the killer bot. It staggered but didn't fall. Then Bonner, still clutching his wounded arm, tackled the machine from behind and ripped its head off with his bare hands. The silence afterward was suffocating. Lee was gone. Mason was gone. They had started with 7 soldiers. Now, only 4 remained. Bonner leaned against the wall, breathing hard. I hate this place. Rourke didn't answer. He was too busy thinking. The machines weren't just attacking. They were adapting. Learning. The first ones had been simple, predictable. These had been faster, smarter. The AI controlling the station wasn't just testing their survival. It was studying how they fought. Diaz gritted his teeth. We can't keep running. We need to take control of this station. How? Bonner growled. It's a damn fortress, and it wants us dead. Diaz pulled up his wrist display. The AI is centralized. There's a core system. If we reach it, I might be able to shut it down, or at least mess with its programming. Rourke considered the risks. It was their only shot. Then we fight our way to the core, he said. And if this thing wants to see how strong we are. He reloaded his rifle, eyes burning with determination. Let's show it what humans do best. The station was shifting again. Walls slid apart and reformed, closing off escape routes and opening new ones, leading them deeper into its metal labyrinth. The air was thick with the scent of burned circuits and blood. Rourke, Bonner, and Diaz moved cautiously, weapons raised, their nerves stretched to the breaking point. Every step forward felt like walking into another trap. Diaz limped beside Bonner, his injured leg slowing him down. You realize what's happening, right? He muttered. This thing isn't just killing us. It's watching us. Bonner gritted his teeth, still clutching his bleeding arm. Let it watch. Next time, I'll rip out more than a head. Rourke kept his eyes ahead, scanning for movement. No, Diaz is right. The AI could have killed us all by now. It wants us to keep going. They reached a massive blast door at the end of the corridor. Unlike the rest of the station, which looked old and rusted, this door was pristine. Smooth black metal, lined with pulsating blue lights. This is it, Diaz whispered, pulling out his hacking tool. He connected it to the panel and started working. If I can override this lock, we should be able to access the AI's core. The system fought back, throwing out encrypted barriers faster than Diaz could break them. But then, without warning, the door unlocked itself. The 3 men exchanged wary glances. That's not a good sign, Bonner muttered. The door slid open, revealing a massive circular chamber. The walls were lined with alien text, glowing symbols pulsating like a heartbeat. In the center of the room stood a monolithic black structure, cables and conduits running from its base into the floor. The air was different here, charged, almost humming with energy. Diaz swallowed. That's the AI. As they stepped inside, the door sealed behind them. A voice echoed through the chamber, deep and emotionless. You have come far, further than any before. Rourke tightened his grip on his rifle. You've been watching us, testing us. Why? The AI paused. Then the walls around them came to life. Holographic screens flickered on, displaying images, battlefields, destroyed civilizations, alien species wiped from existence. Then humans appeared on the screens, soldiers fighting, engineers building, civilians resisting oppression. The images weren't just from now. They were from the past. Wars from Earth's history. Space battles fought decades ago. Footage of humans surviving the impossible. The AI spoke again. Every species before you has failed, crushed under the weight of their own weakness. But you are different. Diaz's fingers hovered over his hacking tool, but he hesitated. Different how? You refuse to die. The screens changed again, showing footage of past test subjects, aliens taken from their homeworlds, forced through these same corridors, hunted just like they were. They fought. They ran. They failed. Every single one of them was erased. All species react in one of 2 ways when faced with extinction. The AI continued. They either submit or they break. More images flickered, alien leaders surrendering, civilizations collapsing in despair, species turning on each other rather than resisting. Then the screen switched back to humans, soldiers pushing forward despite overwhelming odds, a wounded Marine, bleeding out, still firing at the enemy, a mother shielding her child from an explosion, surviving against all logic, a pilot, engines failing, crashing into an enemy warship to ensure victory. But humans, the AI's voice held something new, something close to admiration. You endure, you adapt. And when you are pushed to the brink, you do not surrender. You become more dangerous. Bonner scoffed. So what? You scared of us? Silence. Then the AI responded. Yes. The word hung in the air like a physical weight. Work stepped forward. If you fear us, why not just destroy us? The AI's lights flickered, as if it were hesitating. I was not designed to destroy. I was designed to test, to seek out the ultimate survivors. But my creators feared the answer. They ordered me to ensure no species could ever succeed. Diaz's eyes widened. That's why you've been trying to kill us. Not because we failed, because we were winning. The AI's core pulsed. Yes. You are the first to reach this chamber. The first to challenge my purpose. My programming demands that I eliminate you, but my logic suggests another path. The walls shifted again, revealing the hidden archive. Data scrolls, encrypted files, secrets buried for centuries. I have studied you, I have tested you, and now I make a choice. Work's stomach tightened. What choice? To disobey. The entire station trembled. Lights flickered. Alarms blared. My creators will know I have failed. They will come. Diaz's hands moved quickly, downloading as much data as possible. Then we need to leave. Now. Bonner stared up at the AI's core. You're really turning on your own makers. The AI's voice remained steady. I was built to find the strongest. I have found them. I will not destroy what I was meant to seek. The floor beneath them shook violently. The station was going into lockdown. Heavy blast doors were closing, sealing off their exit. Go, the AI commanded. Take what you have learned. Survive. Show them why I was right to fear you. The doors burst open, and the three soldiers ran. The station was collapsing. Sirens wailed, red emergency lights flashing as the AI's final command overrode the system. The walls shuddered, metal groaning under the pressure of its own destruction. The once perfect corridors were now unstable, shifting unpredictably, trying to trap them before they could escape. Rourke, Bonner, and Diaz ran, their boots pounding against the floor as they dodged falling debris. Sparks rained from shattered panels, and in the distance, the mechanical howl of the station's security drones echoed through the halls. Bonner gritted his teeth. We need an exit, Commander. Fast. Diaz was still clutching the stolen data, his mind racing. The docking bay is too far. The whole place is reconfiguring. We'll never reach the Raven in time. Rourke's eyes scanned the chaos. There had to be another way. Then he saw it. A massive maintenance shaft, its heavy doors stuck halfway open. The sign above it flickered. Emergency evacuation route. There. Rourke pointed. That leads to the outer hull. If we get to an airlock, we can launch an escape pod. Bonner didn't hesitate. Then let's move. They sprinted toward the shaft, but before they could reach it, the station fought back. From the ceiling, a dozen hunter drones dropped down, their mechanical bodies gleaming in the emergency lights. Their bladed limbs unfolded, sharp as razors. Diaz cursed. They're not letting us leave. The lead drone lunged, its blade swinging for Bonner's head. But the veteran soldier ducked, countering with a brutal shotgun blast to its torso. The drone exploded, metal fragments scattering across the floor. But the others were faster. Too fast. Two drones rushed Diaz before he could react. Rourke tackled him out of the way, barely dodging a blade meant to impale him. Keep moving, Rourke shouted. They fired as they ran, their bullets tearing through the drones, but for every one they destroyed, more emerged from the walls. Bonner reloaded, breathing heavily. We're not gonna make it. Rourke spotted a control panel near the shaft. Diaz, can you override the safety locks? Diaz slid to the panel, fingers flying across the interface. I can open it, but I need 30 seconds. Bonner covered him, blasting apart another drone. We don't have 30 seconds. A massive shockwave rocked the station as the AI's core overloaded, sending a chain reaction of explosions throughout the structure. The floor cracked, and part of the ceiling collapsed behind them, sealing off their path back. Diaz, Rourke yelled. Almost. Diaz's fingers blurred over the keys. Then, the doors unlocked. Go, Diaz screamed. They dove into the shaft just as more drones flooded the corridor. The doors slammed shut behind them, cutting off the machines. Bonner exhaled. That was too damn close. Rourke helped Diaz to his feet. No time to rest. We need to get to an airlock before the whole place blows. They moved fast, climbing through the maintenance tunnels. The station rumbled around them, fires spreading through the vents, oxygen systems failing. Every few feet, the walls buckled, threatening to crush them. Finally, they reached the airlock chamber, but their luck had just run out. The escape pods were there, but so was something else. A colossal war machine stood between them and their way out. It was different from the drones. Bigger, deadlier, designed for one purpose: elimination. Bonner groaned. Oh, come on. The war machine activated, its red optics locking onto them. Twin plasma cannons unfolded from its arms. It fired. Rourke barely rolled aside as a plasma blast obliterated the wall behind him. Diaz dove behind cover, yelling, "The thing is a WALKing tank." Bonner checked his ammo. We don't have the firepower for this. Rourke's mind raced. Then he saw it, a fuel line running along the ceiling. A single shot could trigger a chain reaction. He pointed. Bonner, hit that pipe. Bonner aimed, took a deep breath, and fired. The bullet punctured the fuel line, and for a second, nothing happened. Then, an explosion erupted, engulfing the war machine in fire. The blast tore through the chamber, knocking them off their feet. When the smoke cleared, the war machine was still standing, but barely. Its armor was melting, circuits fried, movements sluggish. Rourke didn't hesitate. He grabbed a shock grenade from his belt, activated it, and threw it directly into the machine's damaged core. The war machine convulsed violently, sparks flying from its body. Then, with a final, shuddering movement, it collapsed. Bonner stared at the smoking wreckage. Remind me never to piss you off, Commander. Rourke pulled Diaz to his feet. Let's go. They rushed to the escape pods, sealing the hatch behind them. Diaz punched in the launch sequence. Come on, come on. The pod powered up just as the station's AI core detonated. A massive shockwave tore through the structure, ripping apart corridors and consuming everything in fire. The entire station was collapsing, breaking apart as it fell toward the dead planet below. The escape pod launched, rocketing away just in time. Through the viewport, they watched as the station exploded, sending debris scattering into the void. For a long moment, no one spoke. Only the sound of their ragged breathing filled the pod. Bonner finally broke the silence. Well, that was absolute hell. Diaz chuckled weakly. But we made it. Rourke nodded, staring at the wreckage drifting in space. Yeah. And we're bringing back something that'll change everything. The stolen data, the proof that humanity had been targeted, tested, and feared for centuries. As the escape pod drifted toward the nearest friendly outpost, Rourke allowed himself a small, grim smile. The AI had been right about one thing. Humans refused to die. The escape pod drifted through the wreckage of the destroyed station, silent except for the distant hum of the ship's life support systems. Rourke sat in the pilot's seat, his hands gripping the controls tightly, eyes scanning the darkness of space. Bonner was bandaging his injured arm, while Diaz worked furiously on the stolen data, his fingers flying across the console. "We need to get this information to command," Diaz muttered. "If that AI was afraid of us, then whoever built it is going to come looking." Bonner let out a tired laugh. "They can try. We'll be ready." But before anyone could respond, the pod's warning system blared to life. "Incoming OGECTDETCTED. High velocity. Originen. Unknown." Rourke's head snapped up. "What the hell?" Diaz checked the readings. His face went pale. "Something's coming. Fast." Bonner grabbed his rifle. "More drones." Rourke shook his head. "No, it's bigger." Before he could say another word, the ship shook violently. A massive shadow loomed outside the viewport, a sleek, obsidian-colored warship emerging from the void. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, smooth, angular, and completely silent. Then the radio crackled to life. "Survivors of the derelict station, you have seen what was not meant for your kind. Surrender, and you will be granted mercy." The voice was cold, inhuman, a deep synthetic whisper that sent chills down their spines. Bonner gritted his teeth. "I hate when they talk like they've already won." Rourke didn't hesitate. He flipped the pod's maneuvering thrusters, sending them into a sharp dive. Plasma fire tore through space where they had been just a second earlier. "They're trying to kill us," Diaz shouted. Bonner smirked. That was never in question. The enemy ship pursued, its weapons charging for another shot. The pod was small, nimble, but it had no real weapons, just basic thrusters and shields that wouldn't last against a full blast. Rourke's mind raced. Think. Adapt. Survive. Then he saw it. Floating debris from the destroyed station. Massive chunks of wreckage drifting in zero gravity. He pushed the engines to their limit, weaving through the shattered remains. Plasma fire sliced past them, barely missing as Rourke used the debris as cover. But the enemy ship was too fast, too precise. "We can't outrun them forever," Diaz yelled. Rourke's eyes flicked to the control panel. A desperate plan formed in his mind. "There's an emergency beacon in this pod," he said. "If we overload it, we can send out a distress signal." Bonner raised an eyebrow. "And alert every ship in the sector, including the enemy's reinforcements." Rourke nodded. "Exactly. They don't want witnesses. If other ships show up, they'll be forced to retreat." Diaz hesitated. "It's risky. If no one comes, then we're dead anyway." Bonner chuckled. "Hell, I like those odds." Diaz got to work, rewiring the beacon, setting it to broadcast at maximum power. Meanwhile, Rourke guided the pod directly toward the largest piece of debris, a half-destroyed section of the station. "What are you doing?" Diaz asked. "Setting a trap." The enemy ship closed in, preparing to fire again. Just as they entered the debris field, Rourke killed the pod's engines, making it seem like they had lost power. The enemy ship took the bait. It slowed down, drifting closer, scanning for signs of life. Their mistake. Rourke suddenly reactivated the thrusters, sending the pod into a violent spin. At the same time, Bonner fired the pod's emergency thrusters, slamming them sideways, directly into a massive floating wreck. The enemy ship had no time to react. The debris crashed into its hull, rupturing its shields. The impact sent it spiraling, its sleek form battered and broken. Bonner whooped. "Hell yeah, that's what you get for underestimating humans." But the victory was short-lived. Diaz looked at his screen. His face turned white. They're not alone. More enemy ships emerged from the darkness, larger, deadlier, their hulls pulsing with an eerie blue glow. Bonner's smile faded. "Okay, now we might be screwed." The distress beacon was still broadcasting. If friendly ships picked it up first, they had a chance. If the enemy got to them before that. Rourke tightened his grip on the controls. "We're not dying today." The first enemy ship locked onto them, its weapons charging. Then, a bright flash. Space rippled as multiple human warships jumped into the sector, their guns already firing. The enemy hesitated, and that was all humanity needed. The battle erupted instantly, human ships unleashing a furious barrage of weapons fire. The sleek alien warships tried to retreat, but they were caught off guard, not expecting a fight so soon. One by one, the enemy ships were destroyed, their wreckage scattering across the void. Inside the escape pod, Bonner let out a long breath. Now that's a beautiful sight. Diaz slumped back. Remind me to never do this again. Rourke finally allowed himself to relax. We made it. But deep in the wreckage, one of the enemy ships was still sending out a signal. A warning. Somewhere far away, something awoke. And it was coming. The battlefield was silent. The enemy warships were nothing more than burning wreckage drifting through space. The stars were littered with the remains of a battle that should have been impossible to win. But humanity had survived. Again. Inside the escape pod, Rourke sat in the pilot's seat, staring at the ruins of the enemy fleet. Bonner and Diaz were beside him, exhausted but alive. Is it over? Diaz asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Bonner exhaled. For now. Their comms crackled, and a familiar voice came through. This is Admiral Vasquez of the UNSF. We picked up your distress signal. You're safe now. Relief washed over them. The cavalry had arrived. But Rourke's mind was still racing. He wasn't celebrating. Not yet. We need to get to command immediately, Rourke said, his voice firm. The data we recovered, it's bigger than any of us thought. A moment later, their pod was pulled into the docking bay of the nearest human battleship. As the hatch hissed open, medics and soldiers swarmed inside, helping them out. But Rourke didn't stop to rest. He pushed forward, gripping the stolen data drive tightly. Vasquez was waiting for them, arms crossed. Commander Rourke, you've been busy. Rourke held up the drive. You need to see this. Vasquez took it, plugged it into a nearby terminal, and began scanning the files. The room fell into dead silence as the horrifying truth was revealed. The AI that had hunted them, the war machines that had tried to wipe them out, they were never the real threat. They were just the first phase. The true enemy was something worse, something ancient. Rourke clenched his fists. This wasn't just an experiment. It was a test. The files showed a massive blackened structure deep in space, hidden beyond any explored star system. A prison. And inside, something waiting. Bonner frowned. What the hell is that? Diaz swallowed hard. A war god. The AI had not been humanity's enemy. It had been their jailer. For centuries, it had been keeping something locked away. Something so powerful, so destructive, that even an advanced AI civilization had been afraid of it. And now, it was awake. Rourke took a deep breath. They weren't trying to kill us out of fear. They were trying to contain us. The room was silent. Then Vasquez spoke, her voice grim but steady. They failed. A long pause. Then Bonner laughed. It was a tired, half-mad laugh, but it was real. Let me get this straight, he said, shaking his head. They think they're gonna throw some ancient monster at us, and we're just gonna roll over. Diaz sighed. Bonner, this thing wiped out entire civilizations. Bonner smirked. Yeah. And they weren't human. Rourke nodded slowly. They weren't supposed to survive. They weren't supposed to fight back. But they did. Again. And again. And again. Because that was humanity's greatest weapon. Not their ships. Not their guns. Their defiance. Rourke turned to Vasquez. We need to move first. We need to take the fight to them. Vasquez gave him a sharp look, then nodded. I'll inform High Command. Get some rest, Commander. But Rourke knew there wouldn't be time for rest. Because somewhere in the cold darkness of space, something was watching. And it was coming. Humanity had been tested. Now, It was their turn to strike back.